Imagine that one day you're driving to work and suddenly there's a new wall on the road blocking you from going any further. Your office, the grocery store, your friends and family, they're all on the other side, but now you're completely disconnected from these important resources. This, defined as habitat fragmentation, occurs when a large expansion of habitat is transformed into a number of smaller patches isolated from each other. Animals that live in these habitats are now in the same situation that you are when your road is blocked, since they, like you, need to move naturally across the landscape to different habitats required for their breeding, feeding, and hibernation. When cities in Ontario clear land for infrastructure, roads, and agriculture, it affects the ability of many species to thrive in an area. It makes them vulnerable to loss of food or shelter, disturbance from human activity, collisions with vehicles, and increased exposure to predators, parasites, and invasive species. But why does that affect you? Why do we need to preserve our Ontarian biodiversity? One study from an Environment Canada 2011 journal estimates that Southern Ontario's greenbelt provides services worth $2.6 billion per year. So while Canada is blessed with plenty of natural resources and a relatively small population, we still face significant and growing problems of biodiversity loss and natural resource depletion. Our lifestyle choice remains a barrier to improving the health and prosperity of individuals, families, and future of our country and communities, as well as the frightening prospect of planetary climate change. To bring in perspective, during the Industrial Revolution in the 20th century, small towns were developed into cities at rapid rates, with profit as the motive by clearing land, draining swamps, putting streams and rivers into pipes, using coal that polluted air, and introducing runoff and sewage that contaminated bodies of water. Those consequences are still present today. Understanding that we as Ontarians have a major individual responsibility because we're in the more densely inhabited regions of Canada is the first step. Our cities are the results of fragmentation, and we need to find a way to decrease the effect we have on surrounding and cohabiting ecosystems. Making neighborhoods sustainably urban, meaning they're walkable, transit-served communities with high-performance building and infrastructure should be the goal for every city. Not only does this decrease the amount of space we need to take up, it means less roads built, less parking lots, less air and water pollution, and less energy wasted on transportation of goods and service. It also makes life more fulfilling for young people without licenses, older people who cannot drive, and anyone with mobility impairments. Kids can gain independence and exercise from walking and biking to school, and therefore they'll be more productive even as adults. Based on research from FAR-D 2007, the disconnect from nature not only has real psychological harm on humans with links to increased stress and ADHD, but it's also affecting our climate and economy. Increased mature trees help cover the surface we live on, decreasing summer temperatures by 5 to 10 degrees Celsius, and studies show that home buyers pay up to 24% more for a house lot facing a park or natural area. Reality is that we cannot dramatically change our society's way of living in a short time, so goals such as creating corridors between fragmented areas is majorly important. It allows species to locate different food sources, breed with other populations, and exist to deliver ecological services in more areas. Ontario is known for its agricultural sector, and its expansion has been encouraged by our governing bodies by directly tying the levels of payment to protection levels and decreasing the cost of fertilizer and pesticides. Subsidies encouraging this can result in the loss of pollinators and other non-target species due to pesticides, soil degradation from erosion, and decreased species richness as a result of crop specification. Remember, this encourages fragmentation in order to increase agricultural land and is funded by taxpayer dollars. It is imperative to demand from our municipal and provincial governments to eliminate or reform harmful subsidies that reward ecological degradation, such as forest loss or wetland destruction. Consequently, creating ecosystem service markets such as subsidies for conserving fish or endangered species habitats that provide economic incentives to protect nature services would encourage big businesses to be more ecologically aware, but without the public's outcry, that goal is not realistic. Education on what's going on and where we are living is needed for the ability to fight for our biodiversity instead of profit. Integrating biodiversity into elementary and secondary school curriculum and influencing school boards to do so is important, as well as including biodiversity and ecosystem data into Canada's national and provincial statistical systems is key, to really have a visual for people to see how important this is. By reforming environmentally harmful subsidies, Canada can remedy its present situation of spending public funds in a way that destroys natural capital and causes potentially irreversible loss of biodiversity. Local communities, urban and regional governments, business and industries, conservation groups, educational institutions, and citizens need to all contribute to start this conversation locally in Ontario. And just by finishing this video, you're doing just that. Support local conservation groups, protect natural areas in and around our cities, shift towards a sustainably urban lifestyle, and vote and support the members of government that advocate for ecological issues and have a plan for integrating policies to protect biodiversity. We got this, Ontario.